spent their, whatever they are, they're doing. Elisha's hearing from God. And the enemy at night, they're not even sure who Elisha is, but they're going after him. And they're going and they encamp around him. I want you to view your life today, the problem you face, I want you to see it through the eyes of Elisha. Elisha wakes up in the morning and he's surrounded. He went to bed, no problem, woke up, all kinds of problem. Isn't that how life works? We're going along, there's no problem, I got more month at the end of my money, or, I got more money at the end of my month, this is great, I'm having a good time. Bang, the phone rings. Anybody do what I do when the phone rings at night? There's no use going back to sleep. That phone rings and you, no. And you're scrambling for it. Who died? Who did this? What's happening? Who needs money? Yeah. Thank God that hadn't happened, because I know that'd be a nightmare. But, you get that phone call and we get the phone call, Joyce will pick it up, and I'm wide awake because I'm listening to Joyce on that phone call, and I'm listening to the tone of her voice. What? And it's kind of like, well, now, I go, okay, there's a problem, but she's not concerned. Or, did you call 911? Oh, man, adrenaline's pumping, and we're going. Because, and you wake up. There was no problem. When Joyce fell out of the van, we were only doing about 60. But when she stepped out of the van, here it was on a Wednesday night, we're having fun, we're getting ready to go home. We always stop every Wednesday night. We don't have dinner on Wednesday night. We stop off at Taco Bell? We stop off at Taco Bell. I have a combo burrito, extra onions, and I have a chili. Anyway, I have some stuff there, and we all buy it, and I buy the mango juice. We do that every night, and that's where we were headed. We were headed to Taco Bell after Wednesday night service. Had no idea that before the sun went down the next day, she'd have a new hip. And within 12 hours of leaving the church, my wife's in the hospital. We're in emergency. She's having emergent surgery, replacing her hip. And your head's just spinning. It's kind of like, what? A few hours ago we were getting in the van going to have dinner. Now, we're in rehab, and for months, Joyce, and you guys walked through with us on there. And how many of you have had the same thing happen? You go to bed at night and suddenly you wake up and there's problems. Well, this is what's happening to Elisha. He went to bed and the enemy surrounds him. Now he wakes up, and when he wakes up, the enemy is all around him. And so we need to find out, what do we do when you wake up and suddenly you're facing problems beyond what you had anticipated? So the servant wakes up and he sees the enemy. In fact, the king said, the enemy goes, go surround him. They sent horses and chariots after one guy. Horses and chariots and a whole army to kill one man. And here they are encamped around them. And they get up, and the servant gets up, and he's got bad eyesight. Because all he can see is the enemy. When he wakes up, all he sees is, we're dead. There's no way out of it. Elisha, when he wakes up, He's got a different type of sight. He still sees the problem. In fact, calmness doesn't mean you don't know what's going on. It just means you see resources that other people don't see. So the servant gets up and he wakes up Elisha and says, "What do we do?" How many times has that conversation been our conversation? Oh, what do we do now? What do I do now? Where do we go? Where do I turn? What's happening? What am I don't know what we're going to do. And so they have this, people have the eyesight they've got, they only see the problems. And that's what they react to. And you want to tell people, calm down, calm down. Because have you ever tried to talk to somebody who was so upset at a current problem that they don't hear a word you're saying? You know, the old thing, bam, 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 you slap them, thanks, I needed that. But you got to sometimes shock them out of that area of only seeing their problems. Now, I'm not saying don't look at your problems, because Elisha didn't have, it wasn't that he didn't see the problem. There's no problem with asking the question, what shall we do? The problem lies in when you can only see the problem. And some people can only see the problem. Now, here's what you do when you face problems. Number one, you got to remain calm. Did you know that you need to be quiet? I'm going to talk, let me talk to you as just kind of personal. I'm not going to get personal with you on your problem, but let me talk to you. When you face a problem, you don't know what to say, please don't say anything. There's nothing wrong with being silent. Because usually the first words that come out of our mouth are going to guide us in the direction we're headed. And it would be better for us to face a problem, but learn to be quiet. Anybody ever play poker? Yeah, most of you have. And those of you that aren't admitting to it are liars. And the truth is not in you. Well, when you're playing poker, and they pass, I'm not a poker player. I don't know how to play poker. But I try to play with a poker, I try to do things with a poker face. And that means no expression. But if you're playing poker, and I do know that if someone deals me a hand, and I've got 4 aces and a king, apparently that's pretty good, right? Yeah, that's pretty good. Now, if you don't know how to play poker, here's what you're going to be doing. Whoa! Yo! Oh, I bet everything! I'm pulling my money back. I know you've got a winning hand. And and everybody's watching eyes, But if you got a good hand and you don't want other people to know what you're doing and you want to get their money, that's when you put on the poker face. Oh, we don't have anything. And, well, I'll start out. And so they start out, well, I'll up you. And I plan on putting the whole thing in, and because I don't want my reaction to be. And so you have to watch, when you face a problem, watch how you react. Sometimes people will go, "Did you hear me, Bob?" Yes, I heard you. But, before we speak, we even need some time to think about it. And so they just, if you don't know what to do, don't say anything. People go, "Well, what are we going to do? How are we going to say?" Joyce will tell you. I don't even say, "Well, we're going to do this." I don't know. Let's get into the problem. Because I know what I call it, that's the direction I'm going to look. Now, Elisha went, and the king of Syria was greatly troubled. Let's go to verse 11. Greatly troubled by the things which he called his servant and said to him, "Will you not show me which of us is for the king of Israel?" And then he goes, "No, my lord. O King Elisha, the prophet who is in Israel, tells the king of Israel the words that you speak in your bedroom." So he says, "Go and see where he is, that I may send and get him." And it was told him, saying, "Surely he is in Dothan." Therefore he sent horses and chariots and a great army there, and they came by night and surrounded the city. And when the servant of the man of God rose early in the morning, went out, there was an army surrounding the city with horses and chariots. And his servant said to him, "Alas, my master, what shall we do?" So he answered, "Do not fear, for those who are with us are more than those who are with them." Now, did you catch his response? He gets up, the servant goes, "What do we do?" He goes, "There's more with us than are with them." Can you see how what he saw changes his response? The servant only sees the enemy. Elisha sees the power of God. Both have eyes, but only one sees. Both are in the same problem. Both are going to face expectedly the same circumstance and the same death. But one is, "What do we do?" And the other one is, "Well, you need to look at this different. You need to see what I see." Christmas song, "Do you see what I see?" We'll use that in a conversation. I know you hear me, but do you understand me? You understand what I'm saying? Or do like Rick. You see what I'm saying? No, I don't see what you're saying. I hear what you're saying, but I don't see what you're saying. And what we're looking for is not that we're talking to blind people or deaf people, but we want to talk to people who hear and understand. Now let's cut to the chase. Elijah goes and he prays, and this is what I want to deal with today. I want to deal with praying for you. And we're going to pray for you here in just a few minutes. Because you're going to face problems, and if you're not facing problems, you are facing problems, and be assured you will face them in the future. I want to pray for your understanding, and I want to pray that God will begin to show you what He wants you to see, and that you'll understand what He's saying when He speaks to you. Because Elisha begins to pray for the servant who can only see the army, and he says, "Lord, open his eyes." So he knows the servant isn't blind. He's not praying, "I got a blind servant here." He's saying, "I've got somebody who's not seeing the resources you've provided for us." Because all around the same mountain, all around the same hill that they're looking for, and that they're looking at, is God's army. And Elisha said, if you could see what I see, you would see that there are more with us than there are with them. And he sees the resources. He sees what God is providing. In fact, instead of falling into it, I think this is so amazing here, the story. The servant is blind because he can't see God's resources. And then Elijah prays for the army to become blind, and they totally can't see. Did you know that if you can see and not understand, you're going to be led by the first person who has sight? I think if I had to lose one of my 5 senses, sight would be one I'm going to keep. You know, I don't know which one I'd want to lose, but it wouldn't be sight. I am losing my hearing, and so let's go with that one. And, you know, I don't hear anyway, so Joyce goes, I've been asking you. You know, when? You know, and I got to catch my attention, got to wave a flag, do something I'm not hearing. He prays that they become blind. And when they become blind, here's what Elijah's doing. I think that's so cool. It's not part of this is not part of what I want to pray about. But Elijah says, who are you looking for? You know, well, we're looking for Elijah. Oh, he ain't here. You're in the wrong town. Well, they can't see. Well, how do we get there? Well, follow me. I'll take you there. And so, you know, he leads them into Samaria. They don't know where they're going. And here's a man, you know, that they were going after is leading them into captivity. I just think that's so cool that that sight is part of this problem, that he prays that they become blind. And then they get into the city, the enemy surrounds them, then Elijah goes, you know, now you can open your eyes, take off your blindfold. You know, Lord brought back their sight, and here they are surrounded. And that would be a whole nother series on how, if we can't see God's resources, you're going to be led by the enemy. This is why it's good to be quiet, and it's good to pray, and it's good to ask God, what is it, and where are my resources? What is it you're going to show me? God's going to bring you the victory. Now today, I believe there are several that are here, and you're in the midst of a problem, and you need to see God's resources. That you need to see God's already provided for you. You don't need to get upset. You don't need to wring your hands. You don't need to be all upset, and you certainly don't need to be talking all kinds of negative, and this always happens, this never happens, or is this going to be my lot in life? You can't deal with those areas, because that blinds you to the resources that God is sending to you. And 2 guys, one is upset and one is at peace. And they're both in the same problem. They both see the same situation. And I don't know if the servant said this, but how can you be so calm? Do you know what we're going through? You know we're going to go under financially. Do you know there's no way we can get through this? You know, I don't know if my marriage is going to make it. I don't know if my family's going to survive. I don't know what we're going to do. And the other one is going, boy, God's going to supply. The Bible says He'll supply all your needs according to His riches in glory. He's not writing a check on your account. He's writing a check on His account. He can afford to write it. And so today we want to pray, and I want you to come down, because Elijah prayed a specific prayer. The prayer that he prayed was directly for his servant. Sometimes I make a general prayer, but I just don't feel that today. I feel that some of you are facing some problems, and it's catastrophic. You've got the enemy, and you are outnumbered. But God is saying to you today, I want to give you different eyes. I want to cure you of your blindness to my resources. Yeah, you're in a problem, but you don't know what I can provide for you. And you need to be at peace and allow God to begin to work that in you. Now, those of you that are facing that problem, and it's just upsetting you, and it's guiding your life, it's controlling your brain, you can't get over it because you don't know how you're going to get through it, God is saying, I'm going to open your eyes today so you can see a whole new perspective on your problem. I see it, is what God says, but you don't. Elijah said, God, open the eyes of my servant so that they may see. A whole other thing that we could deal with here today is how close Elijah was to God that he could see it. I encourage you today to draw close to God so you can see it in the time that you're in the problem. So you can have Elisha's eyes. But he prayed for his servant and said, Lord, open his eyes. Let him know there are more with them, there are more with us than there are with them. That's what I said. Do you see them that are facing you or those that are on your side? And if God be with us and God be for us, who can be against us? So I want you to come down. We want to pray for you right now, that God will just begin to give you clear eyes and that you can just walk through the problem. God's going to show you through. If you got a problem and you need clear vision, what God's doing, I want you to come on down. You're not saying you don't love the Lord. You're not saying you don't know, God's forsaken me. You're just saying, right now I'm just so focused on the problem, I can't see clearly what God is trying to show me. And God says, I'll do that. So we're going to pray for you right now. Just kind of gather in a little closer, guys. And we're going to pray. I want the prayer team to come and gather with me.